Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Bibbidi Bobbidi Books. My name is Ellie and this is going to be a reading vlog. So I actually have a few days off work, I've got a long weekend, and so I thought it would be fun to set myself a little bit of a reading challenge and to see how many books I can read over the next few days. So that's exactly what we're going to do. And in terms of my reading, my main focus is going to be on Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. This is the second book in her Farseer trilogy, which is an epic fantasy series that I've been enjoying, and I've made a little dent in this one, but it has been taking me a while to get through because this is a chunky adult fantasy and does demand quite a lot of my attention. So I'm going to be breaking this one up throughout the weekend with some lighter reads as well and some shorter books. And I've actually started off quite well because this morning I've been sitting here with a cup of tea and I've actually already read two graphic novels. So I picked up Garlic and the Vampire and Garlic and the Witch, both by Bree Paulson. These are such cute middle grade graphic novels and I've been having such a lovely time sitting reading these with my cup of tea this morning. So yeah, the premise for these are that we're following our main character, who is a little garlic person. She and all of her village vegetable folk were created by a witch to help tend the witch's garden, and they all grow vegetables and it's really sweet. But in this first book, all of the vegetable folk are really concerned because they notice that someone has moved into this creepy mansion that's next door, and they are worried that it might be a new vampire that's moved in. And so they all try and come up with a plot of what to do about this new neighbour, and the villagers basically end up coercing Garlic into going and confronting the new neighbour because they're aware that vampires don't like garlic, so they think that she would be the perfect person to go and confront him. And so we follow our little Garlic as she goes to this mansion, and the story goes from there. What I loved about this first book is that our main character has quite a lot of anxiety, and it's just such a lovely story about her overcoming her fears and her becoming more confident in her decisions and herself, and it's just honestly so adorable. And then the second book I did enjoy, probably not quite as much as the first one just because I feel like the novelty wore off a little bit, but this was also very sweet, and we follow our main character Garlic, who's trying to find an ingredient for the witch because she's making a very specific potion, and Garlic ends up going on an adventure to this magical market to try and find this ingredient. And this one has a bit more of a focus on change. So Garlic is having to face some changes in her life, and it talks about how sometimes you can't be prepared for the big changes, and that's okay. So again, this had quite a sweet and wholesome message in it as well. So yeah, I had a gorgeous time this morning reading these cute graphic novels, and the images in it is just so sweet, so I'll try and put some of those in as well for you to see. And then just quickly, I also wanted to mention that I started a book on my Kindle yesterday. So I've been in the mood for horror and I decided to try Below by Laurel Hightower. So this is a horror short story and I read about 50% yesterday and I've been really enjoying it. It's kind of like a monster horror, and we follow our main character who is driving in a snowstorm when her car suddenly experiences some electrical faults, and so she decides to follow this truck driver. So this truck driver is basically helping her to negotiate the roads during the snowstorm, but then everything goes wrong when the truck driver sees something on the road and ends up crashing, and the truck ends up going off this bridge and down into this ravine, and our main character decides to go down into the ravine to try and find the truck driver and check if he's okay, and things start to get creepy and weird and scary. And it is so intense and so creepy and just kept me on the edge of my seat, and I've been really enjoying it. I will say there are quite a lot of horror tropes in it, so if you're a big horror reader you might find the plot a little bit predictable, but I personally don't think that took away from my enjoyment at all. Like, I've been really enjoying it even though it's quite tropey, just because it's so well written and it's really intense. So yeah, I've been really enjoying that one and I'm looking forward to finishing it later on today. But anyway, I'm going to end out this segment now because I need to crack on with my day. I do have some plans that don't involve reading as well. I plan to go to the gym And then this afternoon, my boyfriend and I are going to go to the beach and have a little bit of an afternoon beach walk. So I'm going to do that, and then I guess I'll check in with you later when I've got an update. Hey everyone, so I was just about to pop out and I got a delivery from my postman, and I think it's a book. So I thought I'd quickly open that with you now, just before I head out. It's always so exciting when I get book mail. Yes, it's what I thought it was going to be. I'm so excited. This is The Last Tale of the Flower Bride, written by Roshani Chokshi. It's so pretty. I'm so excited. This is one of my most anticipated releases for the year, so I'm very excited to have this one in my hands. It sounds gothic, it sounds creepy, it sounds fantastical, and I'm very, very excited. I'll just give you a little read from the synopsis. So it says, once upon a time, a man who believed in fairy tales married a beautiful, mysterious woman named Indigo. He was a scholar of myths, she was heiress to a fortune. They exchanged gifts and stories and believed they would live happily ever after, and in exchange for her love, Indigo extracted a promise that her bridegroom would never pry into her past. But when Indigo learns that her estranged aunt is dying and the couple is forced to return to her childhood home, the House of Dreams, the bridegroom soon finds himself unable to resist, for within the crumbling manor's extravagant rooms and musty halls, there lurks a shadow of another girl, Azure, Indigo's dearest childhood friend who disappeared without a trace. As the house slowly reveals his wife's secrets, the bridegroom will be forced to choose between reality and fantasy, even if doing so threatens to destroy their marriage or their lives. And then at the bottom it says, combining the lush, haunting atmosphere of Mexican Gothic with the dreamy enchantment of the invisible life of Addie LaRue, The Last Tale of the Flower Bride is a spellbinding and darkly romantic page-turner about love and lies, secrets and betrayal, and the stories we tell ourselves to survive. How good does that sound? I'm so excited to give this one a read. Oh, now I'm tempted to pick this one up this weekend. We'll see. Anyway, I'm going to head out now, but I will speak to you later. Hi everyone, so it's the next day and I wanted to just quickly pop on here and give you a bit of a reading update because last night I did end up finishing Below by Laurel Hightower, and I have mixed opinions about this one because I was absolutely loving this horror book. I really enjoyed the first half of this story. I thought it was so gripping, so intense, so fun to read, but then I lost interest a little bit after the halfway mark and I feel like I still have a lot of questions, and it felt to me like the book needed a little bit more fleshing out, and it leaves with a lot of things unanswered, but not in a cool, speculative, makes you think kind of way, more just in a, it feels a little bit like lazy writing kind of way. Like, I just feel like there were things that were included that weren't explained fully, that didn't necessarily need to be there for the plot. It felt like they were just added because they were cool or because they were creepy. For example, if you've read the book, you'll know what I mean when I say that the reveal about what is in the truck, I just didn't really buy it, and I don't know, I just don't really understand why that was there, and it didn't really add anything to the story, so I'm not really sure how I feel about it. But I mean, all that aside, in general, I had a really fun time reading this book. I love the creepy atmosphere. I love the fact that it's a monster horror because I feel like I haven't read many of those and they are quite fun. I also quite like some of the feminist themes in there, and also the theme of our main character trying to find herself again after going through a divorce, because yeah, obviously this main character is divorced, and throughout the story you see that she hears her ex-husband's voice kind of in her head belittling her and things, and so yeah, that was quite an interesting theme in this story. So yeah, mixed views really. Take from that what you will, but what I will say is that I am intrigued to read some more of Laurel Hightower's horror stories, and yeah, I think I might end up picking another one up soon. There is one called Whispers in the Dark that I've heard good things about, and also Crossroads. So I may see if I can get one of those on my Kindle and maybe give that a read later on today. But anyway, I have to head off now because I'm going out for afternoon tea, which is going to be so cute. So I'll bring you along with me and we'll catch up when I get back. Hi everyone, so I am back from afternoon tea and I just wanted to pop on here quickly and have a little chat because I did end up picking up a new book when I was in town. Are we surprised? Probably not, but in my defense, there is a really cute independent bookstore that's just around the corner from where we get afternoon tea. And so I always love going in there because they are the friendliest, nicest people that run this shop, and it's just so lovely to support their business. And yeah, so I do like popping it in there. So yeah, I picked up a new book. The cute shop is called Bookbugs and Dragon Tales, which is just the cutest name for a little bookshop. And yeah, the book that I ended up picking up was Dark Inheritance by H.F. Asquith. So yeah, this is a book where I feel like I've seen this cover before, but I haven't heard that many people talking about it. And then when I went into the bookshop and I read the synopsis, I thought it sounded right up my street because it sounds gothic, it sounds creepy, and that's just exactly what I'm in the mood for at the moment. I also believe it's set in the 1920s. The cover's giving me 20s vibes and that is also an era that I do enjoy reading about. So yeah, I'll give you a little read from the back. So it says, once I had 4 brothers, 3 of them are dead, I am next. Felix Ash is sure of only one thing. In 30 days on his 18th birthday he will die. The gruesome deaths of his 3 brothers have convinced Felix that he and his family are under a terrible curse, one doomed to stop anyone inheriting his family's incredible fortune. When an opportunity to break the curse appears to present itself, it's impossible not to heed its dark call. And bound to everything is a deadly secret society who will either be Felix's downfall or his one chance at redemption. And then it says that this is a twisty gothic horror fantasy perfect for fans of Neil Gaiman and Leigh Bardugo, which are 2 authors that I do enjoy. So yeah, I'm excited to give this one a try. I don't think it's too long either. It's less than 400 pages, so it's not too much of a commitment, and I'm intrigued. So yeah, I'm excited about that. Anyway, I'm going to head off now and put on some comfy clothes and snuggle up with the cats and do some reading. I probably need to prioritise my Robin Hobb book, but I am also kind of in the mood for horror, so I might end up reading a horror short story on my Kindle. We shall see how the mood takes me. Anyway, I will catch up with you a little bit later on. Hiya, so it's the next day and I thought I'd pop on here and give you a bit of a reading update. So since I last spoke to you, I have been slowly making my way through this book. So I am now up to page 199, so basically 200 pages into this one, which is about a third of the way through, I want to say. So I've made a decent dent in this one. I think I've read about 100 pages since I last spoke to you, and I'm still enjoying this one. I'm not sure if I explained what this series is actually about. So if you haven't heard of this series before, it is a fantasy series. It's the first in a trilogy, and it's the first trilogy within a wider universe, because this author, Robin Hobb, has created a very expansive fantasy universe, and this particular trilogy is all told in first person and it's retrospective. So it's a very character driven story, and you obviously spend all of your time inside our main character's head, so you really get to know him as a character. And the main character is a person called Fitz, and in the very first book we follow him from the age of 6 all the way up until he's, I think, mid to late teens, and in this book we follow on from that, so he's kind of entering into early adulthood. And yeah, it's a very slow-paced fantasy story, but it's very detailed and it's very beautifully written. And in the first book, Fitz is basically delivered to the royal keep because it turns out that he is a bastard of the king in waiting, and his grandfather is fed up of having to look after him. He can't afford to keep this bastard alive, so he decides to take him to the keep and say, this is the royal family's responsibility, you need to look after this boy, and that's it. So Fitz is delivered to the royal keep, and no one can deny the fact that he is the king in waiting's bastard because he looks identical to him. So the resemblance is uncanny, and so the royal family have to accept him into their lives, but they don't really know where to put him, and they end up keeping him in the stables, and he's raised by the stable master. He never actually meets his dad because it turns out that his dad abdicated the throne for various political reasons. And we follow his life in the keep really, and all of what it means to be a royal bastard. We figure out that he's in quite a unique position as a royal bastard because he's able to spend time with the lower classes and no one really bats an eyelid because he's not really a full royal person, but he also is able to go to all the royal events and all of those things and mix with the upper classes as well. So he kind of gets to mix within different circles, and then the king decides to use this to his advantage and decides to have Fitz trained up to be a royal assassin, and the story kind of moves on from there. There's a really interesting magic system in here. There's several different types of magics. There's one which involves communicating with animals. It's called the wit, and it's seen as a very beastly type of magic. It's very frowned upon. And there's also a type of magic called the skill, which is generally only used by the royal family, and it's this really powerful kind of mind magic, I suppose. I don't know a huge amount about it because I'm still finding out about the magic system as I read through this book. And yeah, in this second book we're basically following straight on from the events of the first book, and there's lots of political machinations, and yeah, we're very slowly getting fed information, and I'm kind of slowly building this world in my head and trying to wrap my head around everything, and I'm very excited to see everything tied together because at the moment everything's still a little bit all over the place. So yeah, I have been enjoying this one. And then I also craved something a little bit quicker and something a little bit more fast-paced, so I did actually decide to pick up another horror short story. So I decided to try another one of Laurel Hightower's books, and I'm about 39% of the way through this book, which is called Crossroads. So this is a kind of ghosty horror story, and it follows our main character Chris, who is a single mum, and she very tragically lost her son in a car crash when he was in his 20s, and it's very much a story about how far she will go to see her son again, because the story opens with her visiting her son's grave, and she accidentally cuts her hand and some of her blood drops down onto the ground around the grave. And that night she thinks that she sees the ghost of her son, and she builds this connection in her mind. She thinks that it's because she cut herself and she gave like a blood offering, I guess, into the ground around the grave, and she thinks that's the reason why she sees his ghost. And so we see how she responds to that and how she, you know, the lengths that she will go to be able to see her son again, basically. And I will say that it's quite atmospheric, but it's definitely more sad than it is scary for me at the moment. It's just, you know, a very emotional and sad situation to follow along with this grieving mother, and to see the extremes that she will go to see her son and to protect her son. And yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes because obviously I'm still quite early on in this story, so I think a lot of the horror stuff is going to start happening once we get past the halfway mark, so I'm very excited for that. But yeah, I am now just going to cozy up and do some more reading. I've already been out this morning and done some boring errands like going to the post office and things like that, so now I'm just going to chill, do some more reading, and then I'll probably give you another wrap up before the day ends. And yeah, it's been such a lovely weekend. I really hope that you've been enjoying this video, and I'll catch up with you in a bit. Hey guys, so I have just finished Cross Towers by Laurel Hightower, and my goodness, that was a heavy story. It was really sad. Like, it was just essentially a story about grief and about a mother who is just incredibly desperate to do what she can to see her son and to help her son, who tragically died in a car accident a couple of years prior to the beginning of the book. And it's just really harrowing. It's really heavy, and I feel like you know where the story is going from pretty early on. Like, it's quite clear how the book is going to end, and so it just felt like a bit of a slog to get to that end point, because we all know where this is headed and it's not a happy ending. So it was just, yeah, it was very intense, and I feel emotionally drained now. But I mean, it was well executed. I just don't think grief horror is for me, because I just don't find it entertaining. It's just sad. So yeah, that was very intense. I mean, there were some beautiful lines in there about motherhood and the sacrifices that you make if you are a mother, but again, I couldn't really connect with those because I'm not a mother myself, but I can imagine that it would be quite powerful and also incredibly difficult to read if you are a mother. 100% check out the content warnings in this one, because it's not easy material to read. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad that I read it, because I'm really interested in the horror genre and I'm trying to find out what my tastes are, and I think it's a really good exercise to read horror short stories in different genres, because it's a nice taste of different styles. And now I know that I probably will steer clear of grief horror, because yeah, I just didn't find it an enjoyable read. Anyway, I am now probably going to try and read something a little bit lighter than that. So maybe something a little bit funny, I don't know. But yeah, I just wanted to update you. And I'll probably speak to you a little bit later on, although the weekend is nearing an end, which is very sad. So I will be wrapping up this video shortly. But I hope that you've been enjoying it. And yeah, I'll speak to you a little bit later. Hey guys, so I've just been editing this video that you're currently watching, and I've come to realise how long this video is. So I thought I'd quickly pop on here and just round out this video. And before I head off, I just wanted to quickly ask your opinion on what you think that I should pick up next, because I'm really indecisive and I can't make up my mind. So if you could let me know in the comment section which one of these books you think I should read, that would be super helpful. Yeah, I've picked up a selection of books that I'd quite like to read. I picked up a couple of middle grades because I thought they would be quite different from the really sad horror book that I've just read. The first one is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. This is a fantasy middle grade that I've heard nothing but fantastic things about. Apparently it's quite whimsical and it follows a witch, and there is this town that leaves babies as sacrifices to this witch because they think that she is evil, but it turns out that the witch is actually nice and she can't understand why these villagers keep leaving her babies as offerings. And so this witch protects these children and shepherds them through the forest, feeding them starlight to sustain them on the journey, and she delivers them to welcoming families on the other side of the forest. But then one day she accidentally feeds one of the children moonlight instead of starlight, and then that child ends up getting magical powers, and so the witch decides to raise her as her own daughter. And that's pretty much all I know about this one, but yeah, it sounds very sweet. I also have this one, which is called Skander, I think it is, and the unicorn. There's a sticker on here which is very annoying that's covering the title. But I think it's called Skander and the Unicorn Thief. This one's written by A.F. Stedman. So I've heard this one is kind of like Percy Jackson, and I've heard fantastic things about it. And I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of drawn in by the sprayed edges when I saw this in Waterstones. But this sounds like a really fun mythology-based middle grade. So that's an option. Another one that I thought might be quite fun to read is Kings of the Wild, written by Nicholas Eames. So this is a tongue-in-cheek fantasy series that follows a band of men. I think they're like ex-heroes. It says on the back here, Clay Cooper and his band were once the best of friends, the most feared and renowned crew of mercenaries this side of the Heartwild. Their glory days long past, the mercs have grown apart and grown old, fat, drunk, or a combination of the three. Then an ex-bandmate turns up at Clay's door with a plea for help, the kind of mission that only the very brave or the very stupid would sign up for. It's time to get the band back together. So I just think this is going to be quite funny. It's I like the idea of there being this band of mercenaries that are all a little bit past it, that are coming together for that one last hurrah. And there's supposed to be some nods to rock music in here as well, which sounds fun and interesting. And it's also supposed to be a little bit kind of like D&D, if you know the game Dungeons and Dragons, which is a game that I've recently started playing and really enjoy. So yeah, I thought that could be a fun one. Or the last option is The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshani Chokshi. So this is a fairly new fantasy release, and I read the synopsis earlier in this video if you want to go and listen to that. But yeah, this is a gothic story, so it's not such a change from the horror book that I just read, but I'm hoping that this one will be a little bit more my style. So yeah, those are the options. If you could let me know down below which you would like me to read, that would be super, super helpful. And thank you so, so much for watching and supporting my channel. It really does mean the world. If you could give this video a like, it would be really appreciated, because it does really help out my channel, and subscribe if you want to see more from me. And I guess I'll see you next time with another video. Bye.